On your knees.
You're arresting the only person who knows your station is about to die.
Then talk fast.
My name is Ryan Voss. I was station security on Kessler Relay, a mid-sized trade outpost humming along on the edge of contested space, which mostly meant my job was breaking up cargo disputes and hauling drunk freighters back to their bunks. At 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, none of that prepared me for the alarm that pulled me out of a dead sleep, unauthorized boarding, Sector 9, engine corridor. I got there with my weapon drawn and found her standing perfectly still beside the primary coolant line, blue-skinned, silver-braided, dressed in armor that didn't match any registered species in our database. She wasn't hiding. She wasn't running. She was standing there like she'd been waiting for me specifically. On your knees, I said. You're arresting the only person who knows your station is about to die, she said, in flat, precise English that had no business being that good. I should have called it in immediately. Instead I said, then talk fast, because something in the way she said it didn't sound like a bluff. It sounded like someone stating a fact she found mildly inconvenient. Her name was Commander Sella Thorne. She gave it without hesitation, like rank and identity were the least dangerous things she was carrying. She said a scout vessel from her fleet had detected a fault in Kessler Relay's reactor containment 3 days ago, a fault our own systems hadn't flagged because the failure pattern didn't match anything in human engineering models. She said the fault would cascade within 6 hours. She said she'd boarded alone, without authorization, because requesting formal contact through diplomatic channels would take longer than the station had left. That's a hell of a story, I said. It is not a story, she said. It is a timeline. You may verify it, or you may watch 6,000 people die confirming your suspicion that I am lying. I called it in. My supervisor, a tired man named Chief Dorner who'd seen enough strange things out here to have stopped being surprised by most of them, didn't believe her either, until our engineering team ran the diagnostic she pointed them toward and found exactly what she described, buried 4 layers deep in a containment subsystem nobody had thought to check because it had never failed before. 6 hours. She'd been right down to the number. What followed wasn't gratitude. It was chaos. Half of command wanted her locked in a holding cell the second the crisis was confirmed contained. An unauthorized alien combatant with detailed knowledge of our reactor systems was, by every regulation on the books, a security threat first and a rescuer second. I was the one who'd found her. I was the one, apparently, who got to escort her to that cell. You don't have to look so unhappy about it, she said, walking calmly beside me down the corridor, hands behind her back like she was the one in charge of the arrest. I am unhappy about it, I said. You just saved this station and we're locking you up for it. I anticipated that, she said. My people do not expect gratitude from strangers. We expect procedure. This is procedure. I do not resent you for following it. That should have been the end of it. A strange, competent stranger doing her time in a holding cell while diplomatic channels sorted out what to do with her. Except 3 days into her detention, another alarm went off, this one worse. A second fault, this time in the docking clamp systems holding 4 freighters against the station's outer hull, one of them carrying enough refined ore to level half the sector if the containment failed during undocking. Dorner came to me directly. She know anything about this one? I already knew the answer before I asked her. Sella looked up from the cell bench when I opened the door, unsurprised, like she'd been waiting for this too. Your station has a design flaw, she said. Not a fault. A flaw. Whoever built your docking clamps used a stress model that does not account for gravitational drift over multi-year deployment. It will keep failing. I told your engineers this 3 days ago. They filed my report as supplementary and did not act on it. Why didn't you say something? I did, she said. You did not ask me a second time. I got her out of that cell myself, against 3 separate objections from command, and stood next to her in the engineering bay for 6 straight hours while she walked our team through a fix that should have taken a week and took closer to 5 hours because she didn't waste a single sentence explaining it. By the time the clamps were stabilized, Dorner had stopped calling her the alien in his reports and started calling her by name. By the time the diplomatic channel finally responded, 4 days late, useless as usual, Sella had already saved the station twice and eaten dinner in the mess hall 3 times, sitting across from me both times without either of us discussing why. "Your regulations are going to be a problem," she said, the night before the formal transport arrived to take her back to her fleet for debriefing. "I am not accustomed to being detained for accuracy." "I'm not accustomed to arresting people who turn out to be right," I said. She almost smiled. It was the first time I'd seen it. "Then perhaps," she said, "next time you should ask questions before you draw the weapon." "Next time," I said. "I probably still will. It's the job." "I know," she said. "I would think less of you if you didn't." She left on the transport 2 days later. Kessler Relay filed a formal request for ongoing liaison contact with her fleet within the week, the first the sector had seen in a decade. Dorner signed it personally. I signed the escort assignment request right below his name, and nobody in command asked me why.